that Gunn isn't like Nolan, but he doesn't have to be. Gunn shines when he makes comic book movies. I always hate when people try to compare filmmakers. For instance, take a look at someone like Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is a phenomenal filmmaker. Take a look at someone like Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is a phenomenal filmmaker. Okay. Now take a look at a movie like Tenet. Would you want Steven Spielberg to make a movie like Tenet? I wouldn't. That's not a movie that Steven Spielberg can make. It's really not. Now, would you want Christopher Nolan to make a movie like E.T.? No, because it's not the type of movie that Christopher Nolan can make. However, both of those filmmakers are phenomenal and great filmmakers in their own right. So you do the same thing with James Gunn. You look at James Gunn the same way. When you look at James Gunn, in his own right, he is a great filmmaker. My opinion on James Gunn is he is a better writer than he is director. And what I mean by that is, yes, he does very good in directing. He's really good at casting. He's really good at directing groups of actors and stuff. But his writing is so much better than his directing. And I'm not saying he's a bad director, by no means. I love his Guardians 1. I love Guardians 3. I liked Suicide Squad quite a bit. But what I'm saying is his writing is top notch. I think he is one of the best film writers that is out there today. But I take a look at that and I say, okay, you take a look at Nolan and James Gunn. You're not going to want James Gunn to do Tenet, but you're not going to want Christopher Nolan to do Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's the thing. Like when you sit there and try to compare film directors, you can't sit there and say, well, Nolan's obviously better than James Gunn. Well, Nolan's good at making Nolan movies. James Gunn is good at making James Gunn movies. It's that simple. Like people need to back off of that kind of stuff. I did the same argument with people back during the whole Snyder cut stuff and the Snyder stuff when people would complain about Zack Snyder. People would sit there and say, Zack Snyder's not a good director. No, Zack Snyder is a good director. However, he needs to be reined in a bit. And I would always say what his issues are. And when he's reined in, when he doesn't have free roam, it's seen by Rebel Moon. If you compare Rebel Moon to something like Man of Steel is a phenomenal movie in my opinion because he's reined in. He didn't have full control over that movie. He was reined in. He didn't write that movie. He didn't have these crazy ideas. He was reined in properly for that film, and he is a great director in that regard. But people just want to run with these crazy things and these crazy ideas, and it just gets out of hand. It really does.